All right, everybody, welcome back. Know Your Game podcast from US Indoor. You can find us at usindoor.com. Today, we are talking AI with Kevin MacCauley from Upper Hand. You can see him at getupperhand.com. And Kevin, you and I have been chatting about this since we first met, about AI and what kind of effect it's got on our industry and on facility operations. So I just want to jump right into it, man. Like, introduce yourself, your background, what you guys do, and then we'll get into what the meat of this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, thanks for having me on here, Chuck, and team at US Indoor. You guys have been fantastic to work with over the last couple of years. My name's Kevin MacCauley. Upper Hand, we are a sports facility technology company. We solely serve in the sports space, which allows us to build technology around use cases that are quite unique in our industry, as folks who listen to this podcast probably know. One thing that has really become a big innovation space for us has been around data science, innovation around the rise of AI, something that we're obviously talking about today. And how does that impact our customer? Something that we think about regularly, right? Whether it's historically what feature you're building next, or what problem you need to solve that your software may not be solving yet today for your customers. Well, now you have this whole mix of AI being pulled into that conversation. And as a business owner myself, I certainly understand from a small business owners, you run a facility, have all these monthly expenses. It's hard to keep up with your day to day, let alone what's being thrown at us on a weekly basis when it comes to artificial intelligence. So at Upper Hand, we recently launched something called Upper Hand AI that helps try to focus on bringing value in AI to our customers. Just knowing how fast things are moving, how expensive technology can be to invest in and ramp up to really make sure our customers are at the forefront of staying competitive in the space and growing their business.
Awesome. So only really two questions I have for you today. The first one, which I think people will be most interested in, is what tools are out there right now that could directly affect how somebody operates their facility, and in what kind of realm of operations would that be used in?
Yeah. We're going to start with the one that everybody's going to expect the first answer to be, which is going to be ChatGPT. But I'm going to throw a little bit of an addition to it. And it's not, don't just use ChatGPT, the free version. I mean, it is literally $20 to pay for ChatGPT Plus a month. And the difference is significant in terms of the quality of answers, what you can do with ChatGPT Plus versus the free version. So for folks that may not be familiar with it, when you create a ChatGPT account, which is free, you can go to chat.openai.com. I don't work for OpenAI in any way, just happen to use this tool every day. You'll create your free account, and then in your settings, you can upgrade. And so the difference is there's something called GPT 3.5 versus GPT 4.0. And the difference in those models is significant in terms of the quality of the output. So whether it's you're wanting to have it write a press release, you're wanting it to write a blog for your facility's website, maybe it's an employment contract you're working on, the quality you're going to get is hands down better on 4.0. So if you're using ChatGPT, the free version, and you're not paying for it, you 100% should, like right as we're doing this podcast, go on and start paying for it. It's also going to open up the door to being able to use any of the beta functionality that comes out from OpenAI, which at the current pace is probably every quarter something new is coming out. So there's plugins. So imagine if you wanted to be able to schedule an entire vacation for your family from within ChatGPT, you could connect it to Kayak, one of the plugins. There's also then what's called the code interpreter, which you can add on, which we'll maybe talk about a little bit more here in a second, among other things. So highly recommend. It's almost, honestly would say, if you're not using it, it's not even an option at this point. You will fall so far behind, or you'll see other people that are using it, neighbors, from a competitor perspective. If they are, they will outpace you dramatically, because the number one value of ChatGPT is it just makes you more efficient in what you do every day. So you spend less time doing some of the tasks you're used to spending hours and sometimes days doing that will now be taken down to minutes or seconds.
Give me an example of like what kind of tasks should a beginner start with if they've never done anything like this? What can they automate, or what can they use ChatGPT for, on day one?
Yeah, great question. On day one, I do a number of things. One, no matter what software you're using, you should be able to export reports from your software. You could use ChatGPT's code interpreter to import that data. And obviously, I should put a disclaimer that when you do that, you do need caution. You are sharing data with a third party company, so keep that in mind. And some people are more sensitive to that than others. But you take a revenue report, take a client report. Maybe you want to ask ChatGPT, comb through this data and tell me, who are my ideal clients are. Who are some clients that maybe I shouldn't target. You could ask ChatGPT, copy and paste, your on your pricing page of your website, or all the services that you offer, just copy and paste the text. It doesn't have to be formatted well. ChatGPT can intake any format of text, numbers, et cetera, and it knows what you're sharing. So copy and paste your services and say, here's my current product offering. I need give me 2 or 3 new ideas to generate more revenue. And you can say, here's my target audience today. Right there, we're impacting the business immediately on, all right, well, how to generate more revenue. What types of customers, are good versus bad in terms of generating additional revenue. You can use it to improve your SEO on your website. Within a day, you could go through every page, copy and paste it into ChatGPT and say, improve this landing page with these keywords. You can tell it what website platform you use. So if you use WordPress, Wix, Weebly, tell it that, and it'll spit out the output so that it gives you the exact settings for each one of those web platforms to make sure you have the right SEO on it. Just to name a few, if you're not listed on Apple Maps Business, Google Maps, Yelp, just ask it, and it'll literally give you the instructions on how to do that without you having to go to Google, finding the right article that has the right steps to be listed. That's one of the other major benefits is, where we today have to normally comb through a whole bunch of stuff to find the right support piece. ChatGPT will just tell you exactly what steps to take based on where you're at in terms of your knowledge of something, the specific task you're trying to solve, et cetera. So it just speeds up that entire process. You could use it to write FAQs, support for your own business or facility. You can use it to shop for new equipment. Something on here that's probably pretty common, right? So you can use the plugin shop that is added in the ChatGPT Plus version. You go to plugins, add the shop app, and just say, hey, I'm looking for some new turf. What's the most, best turf for the best price, blah, blah, blah. Boom. It'll give you 5 products with images and tell you to go, what the cost is per square foot, machines, nets. I mean, we could go on and on and on. But the key is just kind of getting started. I mean, everybody's always, it's easy to be intimidated by new technology.
Sure.
And honestly, sometimes I get intimidated by the output of, what you input on it, and just thinking, man, are we all going to have jobs, after a while? But
Yeah.
you just can't let it affect you. I mean, you got to run with it or run from it.
So would you say that it would be easier or quicker from zero to something if it was the marketing function, whether it's SEO or your website or targeting specific products to specific customers? ChatGPT can absolutely help you with that, as a
that's a good point. Yeah, to get sort of just a beginner start, I absolutely would say marketing. It's something that I know everybody has to deal with every day when they go in, right? Like what are we going to market for this upcoming season, program wise, would deal on your website, your social media posting. So yeah, I think, Chuck, yeah, that's a good point in terms of, if you want to dumb it down for yourself and kind of come up with some, a very basic starting point, marketing would be an excellent starting point.
All right. So you've got, as you get more advanced, you can automate kind of your own personal processes, right? And get you some more time. Marketing obviously is something huge. It's something everybody struggles with, right? Like if you're an owner operator or general manager, you're not also a marketing expert, right?
Yeah.
So, and we typically don't have huge budgets for, video production and commercials and this and that. We're very reliant on maximizing the return on word of mouth and on social media, things like that. So if that can help somebody who doesn't even really know what questions to ask, Chat GPT might be an AI function that can absolutely kind of get you started down that path to improve your
Yeah,
visibility.
absolutely. And for somebody who maybe you're not, marketing works for a lot of people, but maybe you're somebody is listening to this and all right, you're great at marketing, you don't need help, and you still think, all right, what else could I use it for? It's easy to forget. You can actually ask it what you need help with, right? So you can say, hey, I own a volleyball facility, it's X square feet, been in business for this long. This is, the geographic location. We're in this city state. What are 10 ways? Just ask ChatGPT, what are 10 ways you could help me with my business? And it's going to give you 10 different ways you could use AI to improve your business. And it may be on a cost side or expense side, but it'll tell you. And then you just sort of follow the prompt from there. And it's like anything, you just get your mind thinking about it. And you just play with it, right? It's sort of, best way to learn anything is just by doing. Another thing you can do is talk to others who use it, or maybe people that are like you, haven't started out, create a little community of, other sports facilities or people, in the space. Obviously US Indoors membership should be good for that in terms of connecting with other members. Hey, other people trying this, and, just to share, what prompts people use can be very, very helpful. As well, like anything, sort of shared experience creates the best practices that you can find.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely have to make some space for that at our next conference, just to share, like, hey, who's using it, who's not, what have you learned, what can help me, at my facility use this better.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, and sometimes people can see it as a threat. Oh, I got this great prompt and I'm using it and I don't want anybody else to know about it. Well, I mean, that'll help you to a degree, but eventually people are going to find that out. You can gain more advantage by talking to competitors or other people that you may compete with and share what you're doing, in the same space, right?
Sure.
There's going to be other facilities that, may not be competitors. They're just in different parts of the country, who's doing something maybe you're not doing, and vice versa. Maybe you could, it's all about giving back too, right? So how could you help others, as you experience something that may benefit them?
Awesome. So for you as a software operator, right, how are you integrating AI into your specific product?
That's a great question. So as a part of Upper Hand AI, the first thing anyone should do with AI is understand, the type of data you have in your software, right? So what I mean by that is, every technology is built in a production environment for production reasons, and production being, for technology to be able to be used by consumers, which is not in a reporting format, right? So whether you're using, a Google app, Yelp, you name it, those apps are not, necessarily designed for reporting specifically, right? So in our case, we've been spending the last several years working with customers developing production data that we have in our software, putting it into really strong reporting environments to understand what types of reports, advanced reporting our customers want. And so that organization of data is very, very important and often the most difficult step of getting to data science, which is getting you into predictive analytics, machine learning, things of that nature. So that's kind of been the first thing we've done. And from there, we're now doing predictive reporting for customers. So we're taking our production, or the data we flattened from production to reporting about our customers' business, and looking at things like cluster analysis of their clients. So doing some k-means to understand what are some like attributes of maybe your top tier customers versus mid tier, low tier. Can we help you identify lifetime value, of your ideal customer versus lifetime value of a not, ideal customer? And then can we predict that off of, somebody that's in the system, and, what have they bought or not bought that could help them become that sort of top tier lifetime value customer. So it's really infinite in terms of what you can do with it. And so today, to answer your question, we're doing predictive analysis for customers off of the report, off the data that we have, from their operation.
All right. I look, having done this for a long time, making decisions based on hard data as opposed to what we think might happen or what we might think would work or might think would sell is always a better choice, right? So just looking at it that way. All right, so that's what tools are available now, and ChatGPT obviously is a huge one. We've given everybody kind of a starting point there to help their day-to-day operations. What do you see coming down the pipeline in the near future that's going to be a shakeup in our space.
Yeah. So, and this kind of maybe plays into like the second tool, but it will be coming down the pike if you haven't played with it yet, is Mid-Journey. So AI image development.
Okay.
And creating images with AI. This one can be a little bit more daunting. There's a ton of platforms that are out there. So Mid-Journey is a company that has built image creation off of Stable Diffusion, which is sort of the platform. The similarity with, so ChatGPT is built on OpenAI. That's like Mid-Journey built on Stable Diffusion.
Okay.
Would be sort of the same thing. But you can literally use any prompt to create, any image you could imagine. So why this would be important as a sports facility, again, going back to marketing, any of the things you're doing, like photography on your website, photography in your ads, getting creative for ads, the kinds of stuff that would have cost thousands of dollars, taken tons of time to hire somebody with those skill sets, is essentially $30 a month, as long as you know the right prompt to get the right image. So realistic that recall a couple months ago, there was a photo that went viral of Pope Francis in a puffy white jacket that people thought was real.
Yeah.
That was created with Mid-Journey, AI image creation. And so you can create, real life, realistic people, playing your sport, doing, interacting in a way that I think is very effective and helpful, because as a small business owner, you just don't have the capital to go do a huge photo shoot of your athletes, right? It's not sustainable, not something you're going to do regularly. And so Mid-Journey, there's others out there too. There's something called Dolly, which is the OpenAI version, just not as good. But AI image generation is something you should be looking at. Eventually the two, so what's coming down the pike, eventually those two, you'll do it together, right? So
they'll merge, right? At some point, those services will merge.
Exactly. So when you run a prompt in ChatGPT that says, hey, I want to write a blog about, maybe a volleyball technique for the athletes at my facility, generate, and it's going to create the images for you. That'll be royalty free, which is the other major benefit of AI image generation, is no image is the same. Every image that's created is unique and different, that's created. So those two will merge, and the opportunity will be endless for how that's helpful. Think of creating programs for your athletes or your clients. Now you'd be able to visualize those programs in addition to whatever ChatGPT can put out, because now you have an image of, hey, here's what the program looks like, here are the techniques you need to do, without you ever having to sit down and record those, right? And videos, closely paired to that AI image generation on Mid-Journey as well. So for me, I play around with Mid-Journey. We don't use it a ton here yet. Sometimes I'll use it for images that we post online or in a blog, just to test it and see how realistic we can get it. Mm-hmm. But again, between these two tools and the thousands that are out there, it's like weekly, maybe not that fast, but it's like every other week they're improving or launching the next version of whatever it is they have, and it's just getting more real and more real and more real. That you just got to be on it and go after it. So you're at least aware of what's happening. So when you find an opportunity to take advantage of it, it's just going to save you time and money in a big way.
Sure. So it's directly related to time and money, right? You and I've been talking about this for a while. I think a major game changer is going to be whoever figures out AI or machine learning league scheduling or tournament scheduling at the facility, right? So what do you see in terms of whether that's something internal that you're working on, or you see out in the marketplace that is going to eventually be able to be used for that?
Yeah, no, and I love that conversation. So there are quite a few articles out there where people have been trying this. It's a little more difficult because of it's not just an if-then situation, right? And anybody who's listening to this knows how difficult scheduling is. As a parent, when you need to make a quick change last minute because your kid got sick or whatever it is, you just know as a consumer, scheduling is it's not a linear relationship from here to here, right? It's very fluid and changes all the time. That being said, it 100% is on the way, and there's plenty of platforms that are out there that are starting to look at okay, how does the data need to be structured to be able to get into a language learning model to then be used in a way that could interact with a chat, a chat GPT that is a scheduling GPT. So you could imagine, if I'm US Indoor and I've got a scheduler chat, it's not an old school chat where it sounds like it doesn't know what it's talking about. It's like, hey, I want to buy this lesson at 3:00 later today. Is it available? And it's yeah, do you want it? Or hey, I need to find a time for next Tuesday, and I want to do every Tuesday for the next 10 weeks. That's what's coming without a doubt when it comes to scheduling in the marketplace, and that's why you got to be involved with these different tools, because you're not going to know about it. And it's important. We talked about this at the roundtable that we hosted at the expo and convention earlier this year. Was what can you be doing as a facility to get ready to be able to to go after opportunities like that? And the first thing is getting your data cleaned up, getting it organized. Where is it? Does the platform you work with have the ability to get it to you if you wanted it?
Yeah, and I think make sure you're recording the things that are important too, right?
Yes.
So there are places that hardly ever record attendance, or who's in the facility and when. That kind of stuff will, the sooner you start recording it, the better it'll be able to serve you later.
Without a doubt. Yeah, we talked about that a lot, and people had great responses. That some people were doing really cool things. Some people have these massive spreadsheets. And there's a time coming where you're not going to have to worry about that as much. And again, if you have spreadsheets of data, at the conference we didn't have Code Interpreter because they hadn't launched it yet. But for anybody that has those spreadsheets, go turn on ChatGPT Plus, go to the Code Interpreter. You don't have to take all your data and put it in there, but take 200 rows of data, put it in there and ask it, I want, give me a report on this data, tell me about it, and it'll do it. And it'll just sort of get you started in terms of how you can look at that stuff. But I think getting, evaluating your current data setup, like you said, what are you recording? What are you not? Is the software company you're using, does the data they even have going to be usable? Because there is this mindset that, all data is good data. And that going to be further from the truth. And we've had to learn this the hard way, with companies we use, right? As a software tech company, we use different technology companies, and we migrate users from a MindBody to Upper Hand, or even sometimes we take people off of our platform to take them somewhere else. They can't use the data because when ours comes structured, and then there's no way to put it in, a horribly unstructured environment. So if you're on those types of platforms, you got to be looking at that, and you got to be valuing what's more important to you, a certain, text feature that you have to have, or all of your data being helpful and valuable at some point, here in the near future. And I think a lot of people don't fully understand that. And it's not that all data is good data, because some data is complete garbage, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And do you see, this is my kind of last technical question, do you see your software or other software is starting to become voice activated, right? So instead of having to go and search for a report, you could just say, hey, give me a report on all of the people that were in my facility last night.
Yeah. You've got that's a great use case for AI, which is really language learning model type stuff. So one of the things with the Upper Hand AI reports is we're getting to a place where now, because our data is so structured, we've got really in-depth reports, creating something like you're talking about, where you just say, hey, tell me how I did last month, question mark, and it tells you exactly how you did. And then you can follow up. It's like conversation you can be having with your data almost, right? And for people that are out there and they're they love the software they use, there's tools you can use to create those chatbots for yourself, right? So you don't necessarily need to migrate. I'm not a huge, I don't shove software down people's throats, because I think it's a huge mistake to play musical chairs, because it upsets clients at the end of the day, making that change very often. But if you do want something like you just talked about, like, hey, I want to be able to ask questions about my business, there are a lot of tools you can search for that are out there that have the ability to attach a spreadsheet to this tool, and then ask it ChatGPT questions.
And if people were looking for that tool, what would they search for to find it?
If you go to, I'm just going to put it in Zoom too, but futurepedia.io is the largest AI tools directory, updated daily.
Okay.
And there is a person you can sign up for their newsletter. called Ben's Bites. So BEN and then Bites, BITES. He has a newsletter that comes out daily that has a list of new AI tools that are out there.
Probably written by ChatGPT.
Yeah. This guy, he does an excellent job. I will say with some of that stuff, man, there's so many. I am very cautious. I'm actually a huge advocate of governance and security of like getting too invested in new tools. There's so much out there that you do need to be careful of, people that are sort of putting a front on as, a really, okay tool to use or trustworthy tool. Because we're going to find out on the back end of this, there's going to be a lot of, I don't want to say criminal activity, but there's going to be, dark matter type people out there trying to do things they shouldn't be doing. So definitely be cautious with some new stuff, like make sure it's, widely used or, has some type of a way for you to confirm that it's a good tool to use, right, before you're giving it your data, because, people have built excellent and amazing sports experiences for athletes, at these facilities, and that's your bread and butter, and you don't want to give that away to some of these tools. So just definitely word of caution on, just all right, I'm going to try 30 tools today after this podcast. And maybe don't do that, but be willing to try things. You can always start by putting a little bit of data in something. Don't put it all. Sometimes it's all you need to know whether it's good or not. But so futurepedia.io and then Ben's Bites is a great one.
All right, great. And I know you guys put out last year, and we'll link it in the podcast, a ChatGPT playbook for facilities. So we'll make sure we get that out for people. Anything else you want to tell us about AI? What's going on now? What's happening tomorrow?
Man, I think these are some pretty big things. I definitely would say connect, at the US Indoor, show this year. Well, I guess it'll be next year now, right? 2024.
Yep.
And connect with people in the industry, whether it's Chuck, reach out to me, Kevin at getupperhand.com. You can go to upperhand.com, reach out to us. I mean, even if you're not a customer or looking to switch, I love personally talking about this stuff and could do it all day long, which is, a double-edged sword when you run a business. You got to be careful. Yep. But I think the biggest thing is really just talking with people about it, not ignoring it. You cannot ignore this stuff. That's the key takeaway. Or you'll lose big time, because athletes, your young kids, they're aware of this stuff, NIL, collectives, all the things that are happening. AI is behind a lot of it, and you just need to know enough to make sure you stay competitive.
Yeah, and it'll follow you to whatever career comes next, right? Like these are skills that you can take with you wherever you go, and including booking a vacation for your family, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's wild. So,
all right, cool. Kev, thank you so much for your time today. We'll be in St. Petersburg, Florida for our conference next year. That's the week of April 29th. And we'll have some more information on hotels and what that coming up soon, but mark your calendars, the week of April 29th in St. Petersburg, Florida. So we will see you there. Again, Kevin, thank you. Getupperhand.com for Kevin, usindoor.com for us. We got some great membership specials going on right now, and we can't wait to meet you in Florida. Thanks again, Kev. We'll talk soon.
Awesome.